Hello and Happy New Year to you. You're all very welcome to our virtual open evening event. This panel discussion will cover the area of occupational safety and health and environmental science. Joining me tonight are Edel Costello, a programme chair and lecturer from our Occupational Safety and Health programme. We've got Caroline Kavanagh, a graduate of Occupational Safety and Health, and also Declan Feeney, a lecturer from Environmental Science with Ecology. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So for everyone tuned in here tonight, you're all very welcome. You can ask any question you may have about this panel discussion in the Q&A box, or any topic you may wish to get more information about as you consider your CAO options. A large team of academics and support staff are joining us tonight behind the scenes and are available to answer any questions you may have. All questions are anonymous, so don't be afraid to get any questions or concerns answered here tonight to help you make your choice. Or at any point in the future, you can get all the information you should need from our CAO hub on our website at itsligo.ie/CAO. There you will also find all the details on how to contact us. Okay, so let's get started on our discussion. And Edel, I'll start with you if that's okay. And Edel, what better place to start than the 100% employability rate from the Occupational Safety and Health programme? Can you tell us what makes our graduates be in such high demand?
Well, I suppose for Startland, I hope it's down to the strong reputation that the course has and has with employers out there. Employers often contact us looking for graduates because they find that our graduates are very workplace ready. So we maintain very close contacts with industry. And students have transferable skills also, which are very sought after by employers. So as well as being able to carry out the risk assessments, do the accident investigations, etc., they're able to manage projects, they're able to give presentations, give training, etc. And just also generally, there's huge demand for occupational safety and health professionals in the workplace, because all workplaces have a legal responsibility to manage health and safety. So employers recognise that they need people to advise them on this. So there's plenty of work out there, and I don't think that's set to change.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I was wondering that. I know there's lots of job opportunities available for our graduates, and really it does spread across every type of industry and sector. Is that right? Is that where most of our graduates were? Is there any particular sector that they get work in, or can it be across every industry?
Yeah, it's very, very varied. As I said, because there's a legal requirement for all workplaces to manage health and safety, all employers need to have an understanding of what their duties are. So we have graduates working in manufacturing, in pharmaceuticals, in food and drink, for example, working in construction, working in healthcare, working in oil and gas, working in consultancies. It's very, very, very varied, and working both in Ireland and working abroad.
Very good. And that gives people lots of options with their career, whether they want to be working outside or, at a desk, whatever. There's a job for everyone, really. And just on that, I know the work placements and practical projects are a significant part of this course throughout their years of study. Can you tell us a bit about that end of things?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, the course it's very practical. It's very workplace focused. So from first year right through to fourth year, students work on, for example, case studies in relation to particular workplaces and problem solving for those workplaces. In third year, students will work with a particular organisation to help them develop their safety statement. Between third year and fourth year, they'll carry out a 5-month paid work placement. And then in fourth year, we work with the company to help them develop an environmental health and safety management system. And we've worked with all sorts of organizations. We've worked with manufacturing, we've worked with a wood mill, we've worked with food and drink, we've worked with marts before. And in fact, this year, hopefully we're going to work with a commercial diving company.
Fantastic.
So it keeps it interesting, I think, for all of us.
That's very good. And I think that, as you say, it makes it very interesting for everyone. And it really does make your graduates work ready then by the time they graduate. They've really done everything firsthand and able to hit the ground running. And just on the applicants themselves, if people are kind of wondering what they should be applying for, would you know, like, what does an applicant, how does an applicant know if occupational safety and health is for them? And like, what do you find are the common interests that your students might have?
Yeah, so generally, the students who have an interest in working with people, helping employers, create a sound, safe and healthy workplace for their employees. And you mentioned yourself, Glenda, when I mentioned all of the different types of places they could work, students could be working inside, they could be working outside. The roles are very, very varied. So any students with a keen interest in how we can help protect worker health and safety, they'll be advising on legal requirements, they'll be carrying out the risk assessments with employees. So there's a lot of interaction with people as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
And just one final question before I move on to Caroline, if that's okay. And that's just on the professional accreditation that's linked to this programme. What does that mean? And is that important to our graduates?
Yeah, it's really important. It's really important. So we're accredited with IOSH, who are the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health. And what it means then is we're accredited by a globally recognised professional organisation. So our graduates then can work anywhere in the world and our course is recognised. And they do. They work, they may decide to stay in Ireland, but they work in the UK, they work in Australia, Middle East, Canada, US, you name it. And as said, many stay close to home, such as Caroline.
Yeah,
so she'll be able to tell you about that, but I'm sure some of the people from her class are working in abroad as well in other countries.
Fantastic. Really, the world is your oyster, as you say. So very good.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. I'll move on to you now, Caroline. I think that was a good lead in to you next, if that's okay. And Caroline, you came back to college as a mature student. Can you tell us what that was like coming back to third level education?
Well, I suppose quite daunting, and scary, going back. I remember vividly on day one, sitting, for the induction, kind of thinking, what have I done? But, IT Sligo, it's such a nice kind of a campus, and a warm campus, if you will, and because class sizes I found were quite small, you got to know your fellow students pretty quickly, and the same with lectures, and then because of that, people get to know each other. They even know about your life outside work, kind of what you did before and that kind of thing. And, it just settles you in, I suppose, that you can, especially for a mature student, you mightn't have the understanding you're a long time out of school. So it's just to ask questions and all that. I always felt that you were just in an environment where that was always welcomed. So the support was there, both from, I suppose, the younger students and the lecturers, so it was great. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think everyone does talk about the community kind of feel that our students often talk about that they have at IT Sligo. So that's fantastic to hear you have something similar there. That's great.
Yes, yeah.
And Caroline, would you mind just telling us what you enjoyed most about this course?
Well, I suppose, and Edel kind of touched on it there when she was saying there's such a range to the course, and it's very diverse. So not only it's not about just being stuck in lecture halls and lectures and that kind of thing. We did a lot of practical work. I suppose in first year you're doing labs and science work, and it's very interesting. And then we had lucky to go on a few site visits, and Then the work placement aspect is very good as well, just to get that kind of sneak peek of industry, you know, and being out there, and then bring you on to fourth year then, where you're kind of working as a big group and you're managing your own time and that kind of thing to bring a project to fruition, you know. And for those were the type of things that I liked, you know. And also, I suppose, importantly, especially for a mature student, that whole kind of, you know, it wasn't 100% exam. So you were given projects and other things that, you know, can kind of take that stress off that final exam, and push you into kind of a more practical side of things as well, to kind of get the grades up, you know, if you're not that way inclined, you know. That, yeah,
I think a lot of people like that a continuous assessment approach, where they can just be building on their marks all the time and just not leave everything to the last minute, which I know can be easily done. So that's fantastic. And Caroline, you obviously left with all the knowledge needed to succeed in occupational safety and health, but what other skills would you say the course helped you with?
A massive thing was confidence building. You know, I mean, there was a module that we did throughout the 4 years called inquiry-based learning. And that was very much having to present to lecturers, you know, maybe a panel of lecturers on a certain topic, work in a group and all that. And no more than my first day, my first presentation, we were all the same, you know, and you think you'll never get used to that. You'll never be able to do it in the real world. But you know, you just, because you have to do it so often and you just build on it, and you have such support from the lecturers. I mean, I have in my current position presented in front of the executive team and senior managers, and if you had asked me on my first day of college whether I'd be able to do that, and I really do, and I say it, I'm like a broken record, I do put it down to my time in the IT Sligo, because definitely would not be able to be in the position I'm in now, and to be able to do that, like, with the confidence that I had, you know.
Fantastic. That's great, Caroline.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about your work, can you tell us a little bit about your career to date and where you're working now?
Yeah, well, I was blessed, I suppose. And again, Adele mentioned about their contact with industry, that I had secured my position through the interview process. You know, the company had approached IT Sligo before I left in fourth year, so it was great. And I started with Dawn Meats Ireland in their meat processing plant in Ballyhonus. So 500 to 550 staff over a 2-species site. We do lamb and beef processing. I went in as health and safety practitioner. I did 2 years of that, and I was promoted to the health and safety manager then. And have been a further 2.5 years, so 4.5 years in total. So like that, you know, very much a lot of the stuff that we covered in college, dealing with risk assessments. It's a high risk industry. Accident investigation, unfortunately, is a big part of my job, but also dealing with contractors and training and all that for our large number of staff, you know. But it's been great, and I'm actually moving on from there now, and I've secured a position with Amcor Flexibles in Finiston and Sligo. So they are manufacturing as well, but it's medical device packaging is what they do. So I'm looking forward to that now come February. So yeah, very much.
That's fantastic, Caroline. Well done. You obviously left with great skills to be able to go straight into a job like that and quickly progress on to management. It just shows, you know, you're great training for your programme. Well done.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Thanks very much, Caroline. And I'll move on to Declan now, if that's okay. Declan, you're a lecturer on our environmental science and ecology programme. Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
This is another very practical course for students who are out and about in the field. Can you tell us a bit more about your programme, please?
Well, in the same vein as what Caroline said and Adele said, that the programme in environmental science and ecology is very much practical based. And you probably guessed by the title, but having ecology in it. So we've been studying and delivering environmental science courses for over 30 years at IT Sligo, and have graduates in all industries around the country at the moment. But the last number of years, there's been a very much a demand for ecological management skills, and our students have actually stepped up to the mark, and we're finding that we're getting companies coming to us and asking for graduates who have these skills. So our course, as it has over, you can imagine, over 30 years, has evolved And currently we've evolved into a course that's very, very practical for students. So when students come into us, especially in first year, the first thing we do is we actually put them on a bus and try and take them out into the field, and they get some experience of field work. They actually see the environment like us, as we see it, as environmental professionals. And then over the next 3 or 4 years, we spend time working with them in the lab or in the field, and they get the experience that we have, so that when they go into the workplace, they actually are able to carry out those tasks. So we've been, over the years, have had some wonderful graduates that have gone to all areas of industry. But the thing that separates our students and our graduates apart is that when they leave us, in the same way that Caroline was explaining about practical skills, our graduates are able to do that as well. So it means they're well able to use a laboratory. They understand how a laboratory functions and how they fit into it. Able to use equipment, and some very, very sophisticated equipment for analysing the environment. It could be air pollution, it could be water pollution, it could be solid waste. There's lots and lots of areas, and they end up working in those, but they also end up doing an awful lot of field work. So they're actually outside collecting samples. They're possibly looking at management skills to bring ecological habitats into a situation where they're actually far better in quality and function, possibly because of our human interaction with the environment in the previous few years. So that's the foundation of our course. It's about practical skills. So when they actually leave us, they can carry out that task.
That's fantastic, Declan. Thanks so much. And it's so interesting to feel that you could be out, in the field, literally collecting the soil samples and water samples and everything and bringing it back to the lab. So you really do get a proper understanding. It's not just you're learning out of a book. It really is hands-on learning, which is fantastic. And do you find the applicants that come into this programme, how would they know this course is for them? Like, obviously they might be interested in the environment. It's obviously such a big topic and such a big concern for us at the moment. We need more and more people to get into this field. But do you find that it's what kind of person normally is interested in this programme?
Interesting enough, historically our students would come from all over Ireland and internationally, but they may come from rural backgrounds and might have an interest in farming in some cases. But actually what we're finding is students that are coming through the Leaving Cert and they've done maybe biology, or they've done agricultural science, or they've an interest in geography, actually, because an awful lot of the work we do is very much around mapping and developing maps in the environmental sphere as opposed to sort of the planning sphere. So they're the sort of kind of topics that the students come in with an interest in. And in some cases, it's to do with animals, and it might be to do with zoology. And while environmental science is more around the analysis of the environment and the management of the environment, there's obviously an overlap in that area too. But what we're finding in the last number of years is that students are a lot more engaged in the environment, and especially in the climate area. And a lot of our current students, or students that are in secondary school, were involved in the Fridays for Future protests. And they were very much activated by the idea that, that we can't continue in the way we're going. So over the last number of years, they may have been people who've got involved in environmental programs within their own schools or in their communities, and they want to actually put that into the practice of what they do for the rest of their careers, or in the short term at least. So a lot of our graduates are very, very much active in the area of environmental management, and they want to do something practical, because I think a lot of the time we feel that we don't know how we can actually make a difference within the environment. And I think when you have got the knowledge base as an environmental scientist, you actually see that the work you do has a positive impact on the environment in an awful lot of cases. So a lot of our graduates now are going into the area of management of land and farming. So the likes of our farming systems are turning into what we call high nature value farming. So we're farming for nature effectively. And we're increasing what we call our ecosystem services, the thing we get free from the environment. And students know that if they're working in those sort of areas, actually what they do in their career has a positive impact, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. So they see it as dare I say, a bit of a vocation. And that's been quite a change for us in the last number of years. Our students have obviously always been interested in the environment, but I think they're becoming an awful lot more, because they see that their future is dependent on the environment. They know how linked they are to it. And that's been quite different in the last number of years. And it's actually great to see. It's very heartening for us involved in the programme.
Absolutely, Declan. And on that, I know that you're very involved in the Green Campus Committee that's on campus. And would you mind just telling us a little bit more of what's involved in that and how students can get involved? It's not just staff that's involved. Actually,
it's one of the most exciting things that I've been involved in IT Sligo for the last number of years. In about 2 or 3 years ago, the college signed up to the Green Campus programme, which is very similar to the Green Schools programme in our primary and secondary schools, but it's obviously for third level institutes. So in the last 2 years, we've attained our first green flag for waste and energy, but that's a symbol of our environmental dedication, but it's more than that. A lot of our student activities in the area of environmental management actually goes into the Green Campus program, and our students dictate what happens in the Green Campus program. And in fact, the great thing about the Green Campus program is students actually can get involved and they can change the campus, they can change the college, and they can be very motivated to do that. And sometimes us that are working within the area of IT Sligo and education, it's hard for us to bring that change about. The students can, and they have in the last number of years. So we have a big plan now to actually reach net zero on campus over the next number of years. We're putting in solar panels. We're looking at retrofitting buildings. We're looking at how we can actually up the number of cycle facilities on campus, how we're going to change to electric cars. On top of that, we're looking at saving water and energy, reducing waste, all those things. And that's all student-led. So anyone that's interested in these areas, they can actually come to IT Sligo and study environmental science, but also practice a lot of what we do within the environmental sphere.
And that's it. And it's not just limited to the environmental science students that can get involved in that. That's, students campus wide. So that's fantastic.
Campus wide, yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Now, Declan, just a bit conscious of time, but just one last question for you, if that's okay. And it was really just about where students can go after the graduate. I know they're in high demand in industry and you've touched on it, but exactly what kind of companies do people go and get work in after they graduate?
Well, the fact that we've over 30 years of graduates means that if you go in for an interview to any organisation, be it private, multinational or Irish company or semi-state or state bodies, there's a good chance the person interviewing you actually came from IT Sligo if they're involved in the environmental field. So we have a very large network, but our graduates are going into the renewable energy sector, they're going into the waste management sector, they're going into the water, wastewater section, they're actually going into environmental land management systems. A lot of our agricultural based students are going back into farming, but it's, as I mentioned, in areas where we can actually increase the biodiversity within our farm systems. So there's a very wide spectrum of opportunities. And then, of course, a lot of our graduates have gone international and they've worked abroad, from everything from the US EPA to places in Australia involved in mining. But in any of the organizations they work with, they have the opportunity to actually try and make a difference within the organization and try and actually reduce maybe their impacts on the environment, and hopefully that we will be more sustainable in the future.
That's fantastic, Declan. Thanks very much. It's a very exciting time to be a graduate from your programme. There's lots of opportunities out there. So listen, thanks very much. I think that's all we have time for this evening. I'd like to thank you all for your contribution to this panel. It was extremely insightful. And to our visitors joining tonight, I hope you found the discussion useful and inspiring. But please continue to ask us any questions you may have. We will be live until 9 p.m. tonight, or you can find our contact details on itsligo.ie/CAO at any stage in the future, along with lots of information about our course options. You can find videos there, virtual campus tours, and lots more. So thank you again for joining us tonight, and good night.